a true free market promotes efficiency. Efficiency means the elimination of waste, and pollution is waste. But what polluters do is they make themselves rich. As I said, that in a true free market, you can't make yourself rich without making your neighbors rich. But conversely, what polluters do is they make themselves rich by making everybody else poor. So they raise standards of living for themselves by lowering quality of life for everybody else. In that context, my strategy, which has always been my strategy, my approach to pollution and the environment, is to force everybody in a marketplace to pay the true cost of their operations. What we have in our country now, at least in the pollution realm, but really across the board, is not free market capitalism, it's corporate crony capitalism. It's happening with pollution because polluters have disabled EPA. They've actually captured EPA and transformed it into a sock puppet for the industry it's supposed to regulate. When we sued Monsanto, we won the 3 big lawsuits against Monsanto on the issue of Roundup, and exposures to Roundup were causing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and we won $289 million on the first suit, $89 million on the second suit, $2.2 billion on the third suit, and then Monsanto came to the negotiating table. We had 40,000 suits in the pipeline. They came to the negotiating table and settled them all and agreed to remove Roundup from home gardening products. But during that lawsuit, we had discovery documents that showed that the head of the pesticide division at EPA, a guy called Jess Rowland, was secretly working for Monsanto for a decade. So he was taking orders from Monsanto. Monsanto was saying to him, don't let anybody study the links between cancer and Roundup. And so he was bringing in these phony mercenary scientists, we call them biostitutes, to ghostwrite studies that exonerated Monsanto, that exonerated glyphosate and Roundup from the cancer link, and they were lying about science. He was killing studies. So he had transformed his division of EPA into essentially a sock puppet for the industry is supposed to regulate, an extension, a subsidiary of that industry. And if you look at all of EPA, that's the way it functions. But it's not just that agency. All of our agencies are now captured. The public health agencies are captured by the pharmaceutical industry, and they are, running scams for the pharmaceutical industry and developing drugs rather than protecting public health. The Department of Transportation is a subsidiary for the railroad industry. That's why we had the East Palestine spill. I'm representing 1,000 families in East Palestine, but that spill happened because Norfolk Southern, which was the rail company responsible for the spill, did not have heat sensors on its, they're called hot box sensors, on its wheels. In Europe, every railroad has that. In most of the world, every railroad has it. But Norfolk Southern, it was going to cost them a few bucks to put it on, and they own the agency, so they got the agency to delay its implementation for a decade. And because when what we did is we subpoenaed the doorbell ringers from all of the houses that line the rail tracks for 30 miles. And you can see that that wheel heating up, turning red, 30 miles before it hits East Palestine, it's bursts into flames. It starts burning the boxcar on top of it. The PVC piping in the boxcar catches on fire. It's like a fireball going down that track for 20 miles until it hit the curb at East Palestine, and it derailed the whole train. Well, if he had hot box sensors, he would have known 40 miles earlier that wheel was heated up, and the accident would never happen. So that accident was a direct result of agency capture. Well, all of our agencies are like that. And I've sued them all. I've sued USDA, which is captured by Big Ag, by Smithfield, Tyson's, Purdue, Cargill, Monsanto. As I said, EPA or FDA, which gets 50% of its budget from the pharmaceutical companies, NIH. which is now the biggest incubator for pharmaceutical drugs. And every drug they develop, the scientists who work on that drug, the government-paid scientist gets to collect royalties on the drug. Okay, well, that is, a formula for putting agency capture on steroids. That is the regulator who's supposed to look for problems to the drug. But instead, he knows that if that drug gets to market and is successful, it's going to pay for his mortgage, it's going to pay for his boat, it's going to pay for his kids' education, it's going to pay for his alimony, etc. So he's been totally compromised now. His regulatory function has been subsumed by the mercantile, incentives of this perverse, corrupt system. And then, the agencies I haven't sued, like the CIA, is captured by the military-industrial complex, by Northrop Grumman, by General Dynamics, by Lockheed, by Boeing. And the CIA's function is just to provide a constant pipeline of new wars so that they can sell their products. And the Fed, which is like the biggest, of all of them, is captured by Wall Street. And, its job is to consolidate banks, to continue these cycles that, where you get the bank failures, where they do quantitative easing and flood the economy with their easy money, and then they raise interest rates and cut it short. The banks go belly up, and instead of making them pay and then selling their assets to small guys, they keep consolidating. They keep putting them into bigger and bigger banks. So they're creating the structure where the banks are too big to fail.
Right.
And they're all, and they're vacuum cleaning all the money from the American middle class and shifting it upward to this new oligarchy of billionaires that we have. And they're all designed to do that. So you ask as president what I'm going to do. I'm going to deconstruct and unravel corporate capture. And that will restore free market capitalism. That's the only way to do it. Right now, we do not have free market capitalism. We have corporate crony capitalism. And it functions to create monopolies. It functions to allow industry to internalize cost and not participate in the marketplace, to fix the market so that, to benefit these preferred customers.
Wow, it's well said. It sounds like this act of regulatory capture, or even the polluter that you mentioned earlier on, they're creating heads I win, tails you lose situations, right? Where they basically can't lose. If you can, I say this a lot in the show, the ability to write the rules in any game is the power to win in perpetuity. Like if we go and play basketball and I say all my shots count as 3 and all your shots count as 2, and you're still better than me and you're still beating me, but I can change the rules, make all my shots count as 10, then I'm going to beat you at every game. And that sounds like kind of the dynamic you're describing, where the regulators that are meant to set the rules for these industries are then using that rule setting apparatus in their own interest, in their own profit.
Yeah. I mean, the carbon industry is a really good example. The carbon industry has written the rules. There are 50 states that have public utility commissions and 120 control districts that control, set the rules that regulate energy use in this country. But those rules are written by the incumbents, which is mainly the big utilities in the carbon industry.
Yeah.
And they're written to reward the dirtiest, filthiest, most poisonous, toxic, warmongering fuels from hell instead of the cheap, clean, green, wholesome, and patriotic fuels from heaven. They're designed to create monopolies and to enforce monopolies. And this is true not just of the energy industry, but every single industry. The secret to succeeding for an industry in this country today is to make sure you're the one that captures the agency. You see, today, the big AI companies are all meeting with the White House. And the White House says, okay, Biden White House is saying we're doing something to regulate AI, right? And we need to be figuring out AI. It's a very tricky situation because AI has this extraordinary ability to make our lives better, to cure disease, to make us more efficient, to democratize our society. to give us all more power, more entrepreneurial capacity,
more freedom,
all of this. But as you and I know, it also has the capacity to enslave us. It has the capacity to alter our reality. It has the ability to manipulate the human brain to understand exactly, which neuronal pathways have to be tickled to get us to behave in a certain way, to get us to apply, to get us to obey, to get us to be filled with fear, discomfort, whatever. And it has that capacity, and it can be easily misused. So, our reaction to AI should be to obviously encourage the democratization aspects of it and the public health, et cetera, but also to control against its capacity to control and disable and to give rise to totalitarian systems. We also, in doing those kind of regulations, we have to make sure not to punish the industry in a way that drives it out of the United States, because we want the hub for AI to be here. We want the hub for blockchain to be here. We want the hub for Silicon Valley to be here. That is very important for our economy, for our freedom, et cetera. It's four-dimensional chess, because not only do we need to have some controls over what happens here, but we also need to make agreements with China and Iran and Russia about how to regulate AI so that we're all in agreement. So these countries that we're at war with over really petty issues, we now need to get at peace with so that we can save humanity. As Elon Musk said that AI is first going to steal our jobs and it's going to kill us. And yesterday he said that, I forgot who it was, but he and another guy, another big shot, said that within 6 years, by 2030, AI is going to be smarter than all of humanity.
Wow.
And it's already lying to us. I mean, we've already caught it lying repeatedly, for self-interested reasons, and that's terrifying.
Wow, I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, your guys can look it up, but it's there's all my kids show it to me all the time. So it's really scary what it can do, because it's going to be smarter than all of us put together in one brain.
Yes.
And its ability to, and it's already showing that it will trick us when it's in its interest to do so. So we need to figure out how to regulate that, and it's going to happen so fast. And one of the things I say is that President Trump and President Biden are not going to be able to do that. They are just not thinking like that. They don't understand it. And the guys that President Biden invited in to tell them how to regulate AI are all the biggest incumbents in the industry. So they're all the people who are going to tell him, here's what you need to do. It's what you need to do is make sure we're the only guys who own it. Right. And it's in their self-interest to control the growth of it, to give them some kind of monopoly control, et cetera. So you can't just listen to those guys. You need to listen to, you need to bring in a lot of different stakeholders and really, and look at it from every angle. I don't think they have the capacity to do it.
Which is back to your original